Hi. Last time you might have enjoyed my video, which was about the Ethernet LAN and connections. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you how to configure and how to connect with a Catalyst 2960 switch. And the way we are going to show you is that I'm going to go put two switches, switch 1 and switch 2, and then I'm going to connect one of these switches with the computer. And I'm going to show you how to go and configure and do those things. So if you are looking at the screen, right now what I want to do is I want to have switch 1 and then switch 2. Switch 1 address I'm going to use as 10.1.1.1, and switch 2 address I want to use 10.1.1.2. Oh, well, this should be 2. So what we are going to do is we are going to go and see how do we connect a switch when we are using a console cable. So I will show you both ways. 1.2, okay. Yeah, okay. So let's go and drop a switch there, which is 2960. This one. And then let's go and put a computer. It may be a laptop, it may be a desktop, doesn't matter. And then I can put another switch, but I'm not connecting a switch with a switch right now, okay? And then we go to the cables. And if you look at the cable, so traditionally what we have been doing is, you have a machine, you have physical access to your switch through the console, because every Cisco device comes with a console port. So if you look into that, this is a console cable. So what I do is console, we do call it a rollover cable also. So traditionally the computers used to have a DB9 communication protocol or COM ports, and that DB9 port from the computer we were connecting with the switch or the router to a computer. So computer has DB9 and then we were running with the console. Because these days you are not seeing computers with the COM ports, so we use USB or we use a connector, but still we can connect with the console. So it can be from DB9 to USB port, or USB to USB if you switch, or the router supports USB. So let's see, if you go to the computer, and if you click, you can see that there is RS-232. So it's a remote access. So when we go say RS-232, and then on the switch, you can see that there is a console port. Well, ironically, there is no USB port here. Otherwise, we can also connect with the USB. But let's go with the console. So you can see now this switch is connected with the computer via the console port, or what we call rollover cable. So remember, we learned about the straight through cables. We learned about the crossover cable. So this is the third type of cable, which we use primarily for Cisco devices. So now if you go to your computer, because I want to connect and I want to configure my switch, not from the network, which we call in-band, but I want to do it from out-band, because I'm not using any IP right now. You can see there. So I go to my computer, and then on my computer, I go to desktop. And then on your desktop, you go to your terminal. So question is, if I have a physical computer like Windows 10 or some others, so I can use a hyperterminal there, or I can use a software which we call PuTTY, and then we can connect. Now, what is very significant here is that when you are using your this connection console, look into this, because in exam they may give you this question. So make sure the bits per second is 9600. Don't change it, because some of these switches and the routers, they don't accept bigger than this one. So if you use this one, for example, if you try to change it, some other bar like 19200 or something. So you may see garbage on your screen, or you may not see something else. So bits per second, database bits 8, parity none, and then stop bit whatever that is, flow none, and then say OK. So when you say OK, and now you will see that on your computer, what you're seeing is you are seeing the switch right there. So what we are seeing here is system shows me that this is Cisco iOS software C2960. So iOS, the Internet operating system which Cisco uses, like Microsoft, Mac, Linux, Red Hat. So Cisco has its own operating system. We they call it iOS, Internet operating system. And then if you go down, it will give you that it has 24 fast Ethernet IEEE 2.3 interfaces. It has 2 gigabits Ethernet. Again, 2.3 is standard, we know of Ethernet. And then all other information about the switch. And then it shows you what type of image we are using, like operating system, like Windows 10, Windows 7. So, and they say it is 2960. And then once you're there, just enter. And now you can see the prompt you are seeing switch is always switch. So once we are on this mode, what we can do is we can go and say, remember this is user exec mode. So you can go and say enable. And once you type enable, you go into the enable mode, or we call it a privilege mode. So once we are there, what we do is the first thing is we try to configure something now. So if you want to configure, the first thing what I want to do is I want to configure the switch name, for example. So config space terminal, because I'm sitting on terminal, I want to do from the terminal. And you can see that system say, oh, you want to do it from terminal, say yes. So what is the, I want to change the name. So let me call it host name. You don't have to type the complete, you can even type a host and say S1. So we have the name, host1. Now, because I want to show you how to telnet, how to access from the others. So the moment we say telnet, we know that it is a protocol, IP protocol, application layer protocol, which uses TCP as a delivery system. So I have to give IP address. Now, question is, this is a switch. Switch doesn't need an IP address. We use address if we want to manage it from somewhere else. So we want to manage, and let's say go give the IP address. Now, question is, where should I give the address? Do I give to these 26 ports? Because traditionally, we give IP addresses to the physical ports. But here, we don't. So what we do is, we have a logical interface, which by default is called a VLAN 1. So all the traffic in switches, by default, is moving in VLAN 1. So VLAN 1 is a interface. So what we do is we go to the interface, like normal interface, and we say VLAN 1. So once we are in VLAN 1, now what we can do is like normal command when we want to give the IP address, and the IP, I put it there on the top. I say IP space address, and I want to give IP address 10.1.1.1, and subnet mask I want to give 255 because I just want to keep it simple. 0.0.0. So 10.1.1.255.0.0.0, and you enter. Now make sure like normal interfaces, because this is a virtual interface, it is not up. So you have to say no shutdown. So you can see the moment you said no shutdown, that means the system has come up. And now what I want to do is, because I've configured, for example, I have configured this part. The second thing which I want to configure from here is so that it can be accessed from network. So let's go and do the second thing, because I want this to be accessed from the network. So I'm going to go and configure Telnet so that people can Telnet it. And remember, Telnet is using Mostly we use Telnet for accessing things. So let's go and do that. So when we do the Telnet, make sure you must be at this global mode. And now you go and say, I want to go and enable Telnet. So command is Telnet, because if you want Telnet, you have to go to virtual terminal because it's all virtual. So what we do is say line. So virtual Telnet means that if you want to configure it, you have to go to line mode. So we say line VTY. VTY means virtual terminal. Remember, there used to be normal typewriters where we used to type. So same thing. So line VTY 0, that means starting from 0. And now if you put a question mark, it will show you how many lines your system supports. So traditionally, what this computer supports about 15. So just go and say 15 and enter. Line VTY 0 to 15. And now the next thing is you have to go and say, well, what do you want to allow? You want to go say we login, or you want to say password. It's up to you. So let's say I want to say a password, and let's go use a password Cisco. Enter. And then I say you login. So for login, you need a password, this one. And we are done. Simple idea. Give a IP by using connecting with the computer, sitting physically on the machine through the console. And now we go to the other switch. So let's connect with the other switch, and we know switch to a switch. We learned that these are layer 2 devices, similar devices, and told you when there are similar devices means similarities according to the layers, data link layer, or layer 3, network layer. But because this is a layer 2 device, so we use, they are similar, so we are going to go and use a crossover cable. Okay, so let's say E531 and well, Ethernet 1. Now let me go to the second computer, that second machine. And let's go and give the IP there. So that IP, that means the computer is already on the network, which has been using IP, and you want to access the switch, the previous one, from here. So again, the same thing, you go say enable because you are at a USX mode. And then you go to config mode because you want to configure it also, config terminal. And once you are there, you change the name. I want to change the name. So I want to call host S2. Now, similarly here, because I want to Telnet, and this is in-band, that means on a network, so it needs a IP address. So to give IP, again, the same question, where should I go and give the IP? I will give the IP to the virtual LAN, VLAN 1 by default. Every interface is in VLAN 1. That means every machine is switched by default. They are broadcasting in VLAN 1. So let's go to interface VLAN 1. Interface VLAN 1. And IP address 10.1.1.2, because the first one I think 1, so and there's a subnet mask 255.0.0.0, and then null, because it is a virtual, it is not up. So you have to say no shutdown. That means you are bringing this interface up. So command is no shutdown. Okay, we got it. Now what we want to do is another very important question they ask in exam. So if you are at interface mode and you want to go to privilege mode straight away, what are the different ways of going it? So one way you can say Control Z. Another way you just type end. So if you type end, you can see now you have gone to privilege mode. This is like Microsoft. You want to go to your parent directory, so what do you do? CD space /. You go to your parent directory, or even in Linux, you go to root directory, CD /. Okay? So this is where we are. Now before you telnet the other machine, you make sure there is a connectivity. So to figure out can I access the other computer? Ping command. So go ping 10.1.1.1. And now it is sending ARP, echo request, echo reply. You can see that. And first time is dropping some of these packages, but the second time you go 100% success. So the first part, that means, yeah, there is connectivity. So next thing is we have to do is we have to go and see, can I go and telnet that computer because I want to configure that machine from a network device, maybe your laptop or your machine or your Mac or whatever. So let's go say telnet and then give the IP address of that computer, 111. You can see the very first thing system is asking you, user access verification, because remember we gave a password there, and let's check what password, because I forgot the password what we gave. Okay, so let's go and Cisco. Okay, so we gave a password Cisco. So let me go back. Well, sure, in real life you have to know that keep Andy the password and Cisco. So you can see that it was successful. I was able to access that. S1. So S1 means on the user exec mode of the other computer. Now to get into the enable mode, I will do the same thing. Enable, enable that also. You go to enable and say, oh, there's no password. So this clearly means that I can access, I can telnet, system is going to open the port, but I won't be able to get into that switch unless a password on enable mode is set on that computer, that switch. So let's go back to that switch. So this is my switch 1. I didn't put any password for enable mode. So let's go to config mode. I will go one level down or up, one level up. You go say exit. So it will go to privilege mode. And now what I want to do is I want to go and create a enable mode password. So enable secret. And let's go and try to go secret password. And I call it hidden, for example. Okay. So S1, I went there. I'm back to my S1 and I say enable secret hidden. So I have given enable secret password, which is encrypted by MD5. And let me go back to the other switch. And now still we are there. And now you can see type enable. And system is asking password. And the password we set hidden. Now in a Unix, Linux, Cisco, when you are typing a password, be very careful because system is not showing you any asterisk there. Okay, whatever you're doing. So very, very careful. And now I am on that computer. So basically, I want to see what is in that computer. So you can go and say, well, show running dash config. So whatever, remember, whatever we are doing on switches or routers or even on computers, system is running all that information or configuration on RAM. So what is the name of RAM in our Cisco? We say running dash config. So if I say show running dash config, so you can see that system is showing you what I have configured in my computer, in my switch. So version 12.2, a few things are here which we are not looking into right now because we didn't do any password encryption or service password encryption, but it shows you have a host name of this computer service, S1. Enable password is, well, this is secret enable means MD55, and the system has scrambled that. You can see that. And then if you keep going, and then a lot of other things, you want to make some changes there, you can go and make some changes. VLAN 1, you can see the address is there, that, and line VTY, this is very interesting part, because if you look at in the line VTY 0 to 4, so traditionally in 90s when Cisco brought their operating system, there were only 5 terminals open. 0 to 4 means 5. And now gradually when they kept improving their hardware, software, and they have a lot more virtual lines depending upon your system. So you will see that in some of these routers or those, there may be hundreds, thousands, and all those. Okay, so let's go and say quit. And now what I want to show you, I just want to go out. That's right. So I'm back on my switch to. No question is, do I need this console now anymore? I don't need this console cable anymore. Well, sure, if you want to leave it there, leave it. But I can manage my this now from using Telnet. You can see this one. I can manage from Telnet. Now the problem with the Telnet is, it is whatever your password and the data, whatever is moving is not encrypted. So it is not a very safe kind of protocol. It used to be for old timer, but now what they have done is they say, well, no, we don't trust this one. And then we want to encrypt the information. Now, if you want to encrypt the information, let's go back to our switch 1. And now this time what I want to do is, I can, let's go and create a user account and see what happens first. So first thing is, what I'm showing you here is that I'm back on my switch 1. And now I want to configure secure shell, SSH, port number 22, okay? So that whenever they are going to talk, everything is going to be encrypted, the password, the data, whatever you have to do. So before we enable SSH on a switch or on a router or in a Linux or in Cisco, so what you need is you make sure you have a host name. Well, we already have a host name as one. So second part, they say, after a host name, you have to go and give a domain name. So IP, again, this is just a ritual because they say, well, you have to give a domain name. So let's say IP, remember it is at a global mode, IP, domain name, and whatever domain name you want to give. Believe me, you don't have to say dot something. You can type only the NetBIOS name, like a host name. But because of your CCNA exam, I want to say, let's call it a lab.com. IP, domain dash name, space, you are giving a name. Well, it is meaningless, believe me. Second thing is, after creating this one, you have host name, you have IP address, and now you have given domain name. Now you have to go and create, you have to use SSH. How do we do it? That means you have to generate a key, private public key concept. So what we use is, we are going to go and use a symmetric key. So the command is crypto. So if you don't know the spelling or command, just say CR and put a question mark. So you will see that system is going to give you the command. So you say crypto. So system is going to go and complete it. CRY, PTO, and then again question mark. If you don't know what is the next thing, say key. Okay, and then the next thing you can see, say you want to generate. So say, yeah, well, I want to generate. And then let the system complete the command. And again, if you don't know, go next. So crypto key generate, RSA. RSA is the name of 3 guys who created this algorithm. And then if you put a question mark again, just to say you don't need to do anything, just go and carry return means like a typewriter, say enter. So CR means carry return, like a type, because these concepts are always from the typing on a typewriter. So how many bits in the models you want, 5 and 12? Traditionally, we say no, it's too small. So let's go and say 2048, for example. 2048. Enter. And you say how many bits, blah, blah, blah. RSA has generated the non-exportable keys, RSA keys, and now you want to secure your information. So this is done. After doing this, you make sure you go to your line VTY. And then 0 to 15. Oh, why did it? Okay, so you can see that it says line VTY 015 now. SSH, enable SSH 1.99 has been enabled, so it's okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to say, you want to give a password, you want to do something else, it's up to you. So login, or you say password, for example, let's say password. So I will call it Cisco. And then what we do is we can say login. That means you need a password to log in. And then you can say, this is now the next thing what you can say is transport input. This is very important. So when you're saying transport input, you say, I want only SSH. Transport input SSH. Well, if you are on real switches, you have more options. You can say SSH, first try SSH. If this doesn't work, then you go Telnet and blah, blah, blah. But because this is a simulator, it may not take that much. That's why you can see it gives you caret. That means there's a problem on the Telnet. Say, I can't take Telnet. You can say all, sure. If you want, you can go back and see there what options are there. So put a question mark. System say you can say all protocol. That means Telnet, SSH, or none. So why I have to do none? And SSH, say SSH, or you want to go Telnet, say Telnet. But I've shown you Telnet. Now I want to say, no, I want SSH. Okay. Done? Now, so what I've done is I've said SSH. Input, I'm going to go allow input only from SSH. Another thing is, now important thing is that when I'm on the other computer, I can also go and configure a user account. So let's say I want to create a user. So username, let's say some username, Alex, and then the password of that Alex, secret, and let's call it a secret password New Year for Alex, okay? Username, Alex, secret, New Year. So make sure the password is New Year. And, username, no, typo. We are so used to the GUI, so username and this one. Okay. Now let's go back to the other machine. And what I want to do is I want to show you first Telnet. Telnet 10.1.1.1. When I enter, you can see system says connection refused. Because on the other guy, on the machine, we said, well, I'm only going to accept the input from SSH. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type SSH secure shell -L. This is a Unix command, believe me. L means login. So who wants to log in? Alex wants to log in. On which switch or which machine? 10.1.1.1. Enter. What is the password? So when I'm going to go, remember for the Alex, I say we put a password New Year. New Year. Okay. What was the, maybe we put a Cisco there. Okay. Because we had that Cisco on the Telnet. And then you go enable. And then the password enable is hidden. And you're there. So you can see that. Show run. I'll just type running that command. Just say run. You can see that. You were not able to access with the Telnet. Now, whatever I'm showing you here is, let me go out and I want to show you something here. Let me go here. And I will exit. And then I will go to the simulation mode here. Because remember the last time we talked about the OSI layer model, TCP/IP and all that. I want to show you the relation there. So I'm on this computer, switch this, And what I want to do is I want to go SSH. SSH dash L, the login name, Alex. And then the computer where I want to go, this. And once I enter, you can see there on the screen, switch 1 TCP is involved now because SSH uses TCP. Telnet is also using TCP. And if you click on the switch there, so you can see that it is starting these layer 1 to 7. And when I go to the TCPA, look at this part. Layer 1, fast Ethernet, I'm on 01. Ethernet 2, system layer 2 is putting its header, source address, destination address. Layer 3, because we are using SSH IPs, so this guy is sending back, is trying to access source address 10.1.1.2 and is going to access the destination which is 10.1.1.1. And then layer 4, because we are using TCP, and the layer source port is 1029. Remember, when you generate as a client, system always gives you a port number which is more than 1023. But on the destination, we are using SSH, and this is using port number 22. So that's how you are going to go and make connection. So this is exactly how if you go to the outbound PDU, that means the protocol data unit, you can see they are sending the frames. Remember I told you the last time, this is your 8-byte preamble. This is the destination MAC address, source MAC address, and the type of information which you are putting, and then the data which you are sending, and FCS, that means the trailer of the frame, which is for error, not correction, error detection. FCS, frame cyclical sequence. And then because we are using IP, so you can see source address is 10.1.1.2 and is going to go into 10.1.1.1 and everything is working. So you can see that if you send the packages here or you go next, system is going to move and things are working. So they are connecting through SSH. So I showed you that if they want to go access this one, these are good. Now if you want to go back to Telnet, let me go and show you that also. Let's go back. And let's go back to our switch 1. Okay, so switch 1. Oh, well, we are, let's go back to our switch 1. And what I want to do is I want to go to my Telnet interface. Remember line VTY? So line VTY 0 to 15. And then what I say there, transport, input, you can see that. The input, what I'm using is Telnet now. Telnet, okay, this one. So let's go back to switch, this switch. And I will say Telnet 10.1.1.1. Before I enter, I want to start simulation, okay? I want to show you now. And then I will go back to my, which one was this? Yeah, this one. So when I'm going to go enter here, well, if you look on that, it is TCP. And this time you can see now, it is making a connection. But in a layer 4, header 112 to 111, TCP source port is 1030. Remember previously it was 1029. This is using now 1030, but the destination port is 23 because Telnet is using port number 23, layer 4. So you can see that you are making connection and everything working. So what I'm showing you it is. This is, make sure, let's look into that, what we learned today. So we learned that to configure, to manage a switch different ways, that if I don't have an IP or I have a physical access to a switch from my machine, from a laptop or your desktop or anywhere, you put a crossover cable, or sorry, console cable, not crossover, sorry. So console cable, or which we call traditionally a rollover cable. And then on your machine, you need a terminal, hyper terminal, putty or something, because they have given us this. So what we do is you go and open it, and then you access your console port on your switch. Make sure when you are accessing the elementary, remember 9600 baud rate, that means bits per second and all that, built in, use that. Unless you have some higher end switches, then we can make changes. But if you change those things, you may not be able to see nothing on your computer. Now, once you have connection, configure your switch, like give IP address, configure Telnet, and once you have done, then you can go access from another computers, that means computer or switches or whichever, from a network. So Telnet means you need to open the port. We open 0 to 15 because these are the lines which we have in these switches. And then you give a password. But remember, if you don't have enable password on your machine, the others computer, the people sitting on the other computer, they may be able to access, but they won't be able to get into the privilege mode, enable mode. Okay? That was number one. The problem with Telnet is that everything goes in a clear text. That's why now for security, we use secure shell, port number 22. So how do we do it? That means on your switch, you have to enable it. So once you enable it, you just simply go give a domain name, and then crypto, that means you are creating encryption with using an algorithm which is RSA. You may be using 1024 bit key or bytes or whatever is that, 2048, whichever you use. And then you can create a user account, username, whatever, and then the password, secret password. And then that guy can go to the other machine, or if somebody is already there, it's a local access. Remember, it's a local access. It is all local database. This user is only known to this guy, this machine. It is not like Active Directory concept, domain concept. No, it is normal local machine like your Windows 10, local machine, workgroup computer. So now you go to the other machine, make sure there is a TCP connectivity, because Telnet and SSH are used as a part of TCP applications. So then you go there, you go SSH -L, that means the login name, and then where you want to log in. And then you give your password, and then you have to give the password of the enable, and you are there. Now everything is being encrypted, data is encrypted, password is encrypted, everything is encrypted. Traditionally, they are using SSH version 2. So both these clients, everything is built in these days. So you go and configure that, and everything will be perfect. Again, it is your way of doing things. If you want to allow only Telnet, or you want to allow all, or you want to allow only SSH. It's up to you, because you are the admin of your switch. So guys, this is what we learned today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And then this is in the continuation of the previous lab, which I gave you. So if you have been reading my other videos, then it will be easy for you to figure out how I am showing you this one. And then the next videos, which I'm going to put, will be in continuation of the same thing. That means we are working on switches now. So the next lecture will be again dealing with the switches, how to configure, how to manage switches, one switch, more than one switches, or in the Cisco environment. So keep watching my videos, and keep subscribing my videos, so that my site, so that you can keep getting my videos. And until then, have a good time. Thanks very much.